Hey, what's going on everybody? Justin here, and in this video I want to take a kind of reflective look on my dismal failure of my reading habits of 2021. I set an astounding 10 goals for myself, and that should have been a clue right there that I was not going to hit them when I set my sort of, quote-unquote reading goals for 2021. And I went back and looked at that video. I'll leave a card up there, whatever, so you can go look at it. And yeah, I even admitted in that video I'm setting myself up for failure, which I did. Because I think out of the 10, I kind of hit 4. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. But before I do, leave a comment down below of a reading goal that you set for yourself that you were really pleased that you actually accomplished it and something you're proud of. Definitely need to look for more of that because, yeah, I'm looking at my goals and I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty sad. But let's just go ahead and get started. So the easy one, question one. I'm so used to tag videos. My first goal was to read 52 books in the year for Goodreads or whatever reading system you use. And I always set that as a nice, easy one for me anyways, just because I read about 100 books a year or so. So if I set myself 52, I know I'm going to hit it. So it's like a free goal. So really, this one shouldn't even count, but I'm counting because I need it. Question, and yeah, I definitely read more than 50. I can't remember what the actual tally was. I think 112, I think, was the final count. What do I keep saying? Question. What? Goal number 2, wow, I'm drawing blanks as you can tell, was to read 15 Warhammer books, and I actually did hit this one. I read 23. Granted, 10 of them were like novellas, I guess. They're only like 150 pages each or something like that, in the Primarch series if you follow Warhammer stuff. But, I'm going to count it. 23 titles read, short, fluffy, guilty pleasure reads, but still, did that goal. And now for the failures coming right up. Goal 3 was to read 12 fantasy books that weren't Warhammer. And I think in 2021, I essentially just basically gave up and said, yeah, fantasy's just like not for me. So I read a grand total of 1, and that one is actually The Hobbit by Tolkien, which I'm not counting because I like Tolkien anything. So that's like its own genre, and I might do a Tolkien collection coming up and whatnot. But yeah, I read a total of 0 fantasy books that weren't, Warhammer, sci-fi, fantasy stuff. Yeah, fantasy's just like not a thing anymore. So that was I guess it was a fail, but I won't obviously have that goal going forward. Number 4 was to read more philosophy, and that was a fail. I think I read 2 books that I might even kind of consider as like, philosophical or philosophy or whatever. And the one that was like definitely philosophy, I think was like one of my only 2-star reads of the year. So I'm just gonna go with that was a fail for 2021. Probably will like add that one again, but instead of more, I might just put like 5 or something, so I know it's like achievable. Goal number 5 was to read more ancient history, and you'd think I'd do pretty good with that considering history is my tied for like nature and history basically are both like, that's like half my, like all my reading is basically split between those 2 genres. Yeah, I only read, unless you're counting Anthropology, which I kind of separate from ancient history. Yeah, unless you're counting that, I did not hit it, so I'm going to say I failed that. I think I read 2 books that would classify as ancient history. I don't have a good explanation. I even wanted to do it, and I just never picked anything up, apparently. I don't know. Here's one that I did do, and it was to read more Oxford Very Short Introductions, and I did read at least 1 book's worth for each month of the year, so I finished 12 on a whole like kind of range of different subjects, some nature ones, some history ones, some kind of more like just ones on the humanities and stuff. So I do feel really good about hitting that goal. Granted, they're short books, they're all like, in between 120 and like 180 pages or something like that, they're very short introductions to different categories, but I feel good actually finishing a goal there. Definitely will add that one to next year's as well, or I guess this year's, since I'm recording in 2022 and whatnot. I just think it's a good way to get a broad range of subjects in without, having to do a deep dive in like a 400-page tome. But all right, so that's 3 out of 6, and then I think there's 3 more fails coming right up. Number 7 was to read more long books. And I even gave myself a pretty lenient definition of long. I think I said 500 pages. I think I only had 4 that were even kind of like in that ballpark. I think I think I had 4 that were like 480 pages or more, something like that. So that's definitely a that's definitely a fail. Granted, I actually say most of my nature reads just tend to not ever be that long. I have a couple here that I'm gonna read actually this year. Like I have the Albatross and stuff. I think is like 500 pages. And maybe like Carl Zimmer's She Has Your Mother's Laugh, and maybe Barry Lopez's Arctic Dreams. But yeah, most of them just don't tend to get that long. So I think that's part of the reason I'm having a hard time getting that one. Moving on to number 8. Goal number 8 was to read more World War I history. And for some reason, I've just fallen off the bandwagon. It makes no sense because I have a whole history shelf dedicated to World War One. And then I think there was like 3 years where I read about a book a month or so. Something like, I read like 10 a year, like on just World War One history. Because it's one of the only modernish history eras that I read about, because like once I get to like the medieval period, I kind of, after like once I hit Renaissance, I just sort of trail off and don't care. But this is like it's like one of the only events, I guess, in, you know, like I said, modernish history that I read about. But I only read one in 2021, so that was obviously just another fail. I don't it's like I purposely wrote these goals and just absolutely just avoided them for some reason. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Number 9 was to read more physical science books, because I read a lot of nature, biology, environmental, ecology, science books and stuff, but not a lot of the more like physical sciences like astronomy, physics, chemistry, stuff like that. And I think subconsciously I've just never read any like really good ones, just a lot of really middle of the road meh kind of books. So I just, like, I always pick one up. I pick one up usually in the bookstores or whatever. Like, I'll find a used one or whatever. But then I'm just like, no, I'd actually rather just read a book about, like black bears or something. So that's, like, just what happens, I think. So if you got any good physical science book recommendations, leave some comments down below. Maybe I'll get to them. I'm not 100% sure, not with this track record anyways. And goal number 10 I hit. And it was to read, it's the only one where I put read more of something, and I actually hit it. It was to read more anthropology books. Like I said, I didn't actually classify what more meant anyways, but I did read 9 books that I considered like works of anthropology and stuff, which is actually pretty good for me. I used to hate anthropology. Just, I think college, I don't know, I think something must have happened, like some courses or lectures, and anthropology I just couldn't stand. But now that I found some really good ones over the past like 2 years or so, I've just been actually enjoying it a lot more, and you know, just keep that going hopefully in 2022. So there you have it. Those were the 10 goals. I hit 4. 1 really shouldn't count, so you know, 4 for 10 is still like an F minus, you know. Let me know how your reading goals went. Surely they went better than mine, but probably doing my, you know, 22, I don't know what the point is going to be, but I'm going to be doing my 2022 sort of my reading goals for this year, video coming up pretty soon. Probably have to reflect and think on like what I actually want to accomplish and how I'm actually going to go about doing it. But whether your reading was good for last year and anything like that, always remember for 2022, read victoriously.